promised, JE, I'm going to show you how I make seitan out of flour. I do have a video up that shows you how I wash my bridal wheat gluten, but we're going to make a recipe together and I'm going to show you what I put in it and what I do. So we're going to add about 5 to 6 cups of flour. I'm using just unbleached flour. You can use whole wheat, but whole wheat you'd have to let it sit longer so that you don't wash all the flour down the drain. So right now we've got 3. We're going to put 4. And we're going to put 5. Then we're going to do 6 altogether. There we go. 6 cups of flour. And we're going to need approximately, I'm guessing 3 cups, but we will check. And it would be cold water. So I'm just going to measure it and check at the same time for you. We have 1, 2. I'm just going to check it before I add the extra. You basically want this to be like a pizza dough or a bread dough. And we will need extra water. So we're going to start with a half before we put, there we go, we're going to start with half. And we might need the full 3 cups of water, I'm not sure. No, it looks like we need 2.5 cups for the 6 cups of flour. If you feel that your dough is too wet, then you can just add extra flour to firm it up. And if you find it's too firm, then just add extra water. So it really is, at this point, it really isn't hard to do. It's just a matter of getting your dough started. Now this does seem a little wet, so I'm just going to put a handful of flour to this mixture. And it really isn't that hard to do. So I'm just going to sprinkle a little and just mix it till I feel that it comes together easily. So it ends up being almost 7 cups of flour to the 2.5 cups of water. Now, I'll tell you what I end up doing. I'm always creating, and my daughters always get so pissed off and says, "Ma, you gotta write these recipes down." But this is how I normally work. And when I make videos for you guys, I actually have to stop and measure it so I can make a new recipe of what I made. And the more you knead it, the more it creates gluten for you. There we go. So it's almost like 7 cups of flour that I've used in all. Now it looks like a lot, but it really isn't going to be a lot once we wash the starch out of here. It's going to be about half the size of what I have in this bowl. Now, when you're making this type of seitan, you can make your dough and you could actually put it in a bag, refrigerate it, and wash it the day after. Because the longer it sits, the more gluten it makes. And that's how easy it is. We will have to wash this out, but like I said, I do have a video up on my channel right now where I am making this seitan from scratch. But what we're going to do is teach you how to make sausages. Now some places, like J.E. mentioned, he has a hard time finding gluten. So this is a great way for you to make your meat without having to worry about finding gluten. So you could just get regular flour. Like I said, I use unbleached, but you could use any flour you have as long as it has gluten in it. And you're going to wash this out We're going to let it rest for a bit. But you can, like I said, you can put this in the refrigerator. You don't have to be in a hurry to make it. You can put this in the refrigerator and you can wash it the day after. So you can prepare this ahead of time. The more you need, the more gluten you create. Now, if you don't want to get your hands dirty, you could also use a food processor. But I'm not sure if your food processor is going to be big enough to hold this much dough. Just a little more work, but if you can't find gluten and you want to have some seitan, it really is a very cheap way of making it. It really is a fraction of the price. Like I was saying, my Vital Wheat gluten, at one time, well, I'd say about maybe 4 years back, I was paying like $3 to $5 a bag, and today we're paying over $10 a bag, and we're talking a small bag. You really can't do much with a small bag. And you could get yourself these big bags of flour, and you can bake with it, and you can also make your meat with it. So you're just going to let this rest. Like I said, you could let it rest for an hour, 2 hours, and then come back to it. Even half an hour if you don't want to wait that long. Or you could just make it the day after. You don't have to worry about having to rush your seitan. You could just take your sweet time when you're making it. You could also clean the house or do some gardening while you're waiting for it to become gluten. So at this point, I'm just going to cover it. And just let it rest as long as you want. Like I said, the least amount you want it to rest would be at least half hour. An hour is even better. And then we're going to add some cold water to the bowl and let it rest for another half hour with the cold water in your bowl. And the good thing about this is that you could actually make sausages out of it. You can make, with the seitan, you can make sausages, you can make deli meats. You could just make plain meat that you could incorporate in any type of meal you make. Like yesterday I made some spaghetti sauce, and I took some of the meat I had and I chopped it up really fine, almost like a minced meat, and threw it in the sauce. It was just to die for how good it was. So there's a lot of things you can do with Vital Wheat gluten or seitan. So it's just a lot cheaper, and you know that you'll always find it in the store. I know there's times where, I mean, the other method is faster because you take the flour and you add your water and you just prepare your meats. Convenience. But this way, if you're looking for price-wise, this is the cheapest way you can do it. And you know that you don't have to wonder if it's in stock, if they ran out of the gluten. You know that you're always going to have flour in the stores, and you're going to be able to make your meat. So there is a plus in making it from scratch. So we're going to let this rest, and I'm going to see you in a while. Okay, so I just wanted to show you how easy it really is to make this Vital Wheat gluten. What I did was, I wanted to show you that I did refrigerate it for a whole day and night. Now I still have it in a bag. What I'm going to do now, just add some water right into the bag, and it's going to slowly detach itself, because right now it's just a very sticky mess in there. But if you add water, you're going to see it's going to completely catch itself from the bag. And then you can add it right into your sift. I have a sift here and a bowl. There we go. And it just comes right out of the bag. It comes out really easy. And we're just going to let that sit in water now. Now, you don't have to put it in a bag. You could just simply put it in a bowl and keep it refrigerated overnight. And what that does is it really helps form that gluten. So there we go. We got it out of the bag. I'll put this aside and wash it later and put it in recycle. So I'll just tuck this over there for now. So now you could just take this and put it into the water directly. But when you want to wash it, we're going to put it back into the sift. And I'll tell you why. When you're washing your dough, you'll tend to get little bits of gluten like this. And if it stays into your sift, you'll be able to pick up all those little pieces and not waste any. So for now, we're just going to leave it in the water, and we're going to let that sit for at least 30 minutes before you start washing it. There's also another thing that you don't have to, a lot of people say, oh my God, it's so much work to make this gluten from scratch, but it really isn't, because you could actually let this sit and you could go about your day and either do some gardening outside, or you can clean the house while it sits here. So it really isn't that much work to do this. You don't have to stand here. I mean, you can, and still it doesn't take that much to get everything out of it, especially if it's been sitting in water on its own for half an hour. It will release a lot of the starches all on its own. So it's not a lot of work at all, and it is one of the cheapest meals you'll ever make yourself compared to buying the bag. And I'm going to show you the bag that I get. Now, here's the bag that I get. It's a very small bag. I'm not sure if you can see it. Let me see if I can focus. It's a very small bag if you look at it in comparison to my hand. And this bag is over $10. It used to cost about $5, but now it's become so popular that it's so expensive. And you really could make, what, maybe 2 batches of meat out of it. So it's going to cost you $5 a batch, including other things that you will add into your mix. But if you do it from scratch, it's going to cost you pennies, because you could get a super large bag. You could get 20 pounds, even more, for like $11, and you only need about 7 cups of flour, and you're going to have enough gluten to make plenty of sausage. And like I said, you could double the batch, you could triple the batch. If you're in the mood of making sausages one day and say, you know what, I'm just going to keep washing until I get enough sausage to put in the freezer, it'll take you, a couple of hours that day, but it will be a lot cheaper. So we're going to just let this soak, and I'll come back in half an hour, and we're going to start washing it and show you how easy it really is to wash. I wash the seitan. I do have a video up, and it's called Making Seitan from Scratch. I will put a link so you could go see it, and it's very simple. You can follow that recipe too, and then just add whatever you want into your dough. You can make, with the recipe that I have, I think it's a couple of parts. There's part 1, part 2. I also make cutlets with this. This is the one I use to make cutlets. This is the recipe I use to make cutlets. You can with the other vital wheat gluten, but I prefer this one because it has less taste, and you can season it how you want. So this is the one, the seitan I use to make my my breaded cutlets. And there's a video up on YouTube that shows you how to make that too. But for this video, I'm going to show you how to make sausages. And like I said, you can make deli meats, you can make whatever you want with it. So it really is simple. Healthier, yes, a lot healthier than meat. You figure meat has got all the cholesterol, and this has no cholesterol whatsoever in it. So, is it healthier than meat? Yes, it is. Is it healthy for you? Not as healthy if you're going to be eating fruits and vegetables, no. But if you have a craving for something that's meat-like, I say go ahead and make this. And it's not that you have to eat this every day. And this is no different than the one you buy at the store. But if you have a craving, I'd rather have this than having to put any animal products in our mouth that's going to eventually kill us or make us very sick. So, there you go. I am going to let this soak, and then I'm going to come back and we're going to start washing it. Okay, so we're back. Notice the flour, all the starch that's coming out of it. So we're going to just take this and just pour it right into a sip. That means as we're washing it, we're not going to lose any bits of the seitan. So you just let cold water run into your bowl, and you're just going to press down on your dough until you release all the starches. And we're going to slowly wash it. Now you don't want to use hot water, you want to always use cold water when we do this. It's a little harder to do over the winter when your hands are, it's so cold, the water. But if you just add a little bit of warm water to that cold water, you can still do it. It's doable. I have no choice because my husband loves his cutlets, and he loves his cutlets, so I've got no choice but to make it. So you just keep massaging it, and like I said, you don't have to stand here and do it continuously. You can take breaks and come back to it. It makes it easier to remove the starch from the dough. And you're going to see this dough is just going to get less and less. We just dump the starch water. Just keep pressing the water out of the dough, and you're going to see, you're going to be left with just the protein of the wheat. Now you can use whole wheat if you want. A lot of people are not into the lighter flour. There we go. And you see that it's just becoming less and less. You're going to be left with just a little bit of gluten. The rest is just going to go down the drain. It's really not a very hard process, that's for sure. You know, I've had people say, you know, vital wheat gluten isn't very healthy for you. Seitan is not very healthy for you. Or your steak is not very healthy for you either. You seem to still be eating it. I know that my husband doesn't get it often, but he does like his cutlets. And the only way you're going to get those cutlets is if you're going to make some kind of mock meat. Now, people call it fake meat. I don't call this fake at all because, you know, it is from a plant source. It's just not bloody meat. And who wants bloody meat anyhow? People not realize what they're eating when they're eating meat. And you see how fast that was? Look how fast that was. But it really doesn't take long to wash it. And JE, if you're looking because you can't find the vital wheat gluten, this is going to change your life. Because you're going to be able to make lots of recipes with this. It's like washing clothes the old-fashioned way. And there, look. This is, what you see left behind now is pure protein. You're going to know when you get to this point. Am I still in focus? I hope I'm in focus. So here's my protein right there. It didn't take long at all this morning because it also sat in the water, so it washes out a lot faster. And if you don't get all the starch out, it's not the end of the world either. There we go. The water is a lot clearer. Have you noticed the water is not? Okay, so this is what you're left with. From that big piece of dough, this is what you've got left. So now, we're going to just let it sit, and every once in a while, we're just going to press this water out because we want to get rid of as much water as we can from this piece of gluten. Because when we make sausages with the flour, the vital wheat flour, it's dry. So when you add all your ingredients, you are actually adding all those flavors to your flour. But because this is still wet, your flavors are gonna, not your flavors, the recipe changes a bit. Instead of using like the applesauce when I do my apple and sage, I'm not going to use the applesauce, otherwise my sausages are going to be way too wet. So I'm going to put something heavy on it so we can press the water out. The water will look a little milky, but it's okay.